Significant discoveries derived from this material are still being made. It was also the most blatant instance of media manipulation and ignorance-driven war-making that I can recall. Journalists are constantly looking for an explanation for why they are discussing a topic today that they weren't a week before. We always anticipate harsh criticism. We prefer to follow standard publication procedures, which include acting responsibly, ensuring that the content is unlikely to do damage to anybody, having it thoroughly scrutinized by reputable news outlets, attorneys, human rights organizations, and so forth. There are no sources that disagree with other sources that we know of. I saw that self-censorship, economic constraints, and governmental censorship severely limited publication globally, while the military-industrial complex expanded at an exponential pace and amassed much more data about the human race than the general public could have ever imagined. To confine someone to ignorance is like keeping them in a cage. However, certain secrets are genuine. For example, your medical records are a lawful secret. We therefore see that debate and think it is worthwhile to discuss. We have had to disperse resources, encrypt everything, and relocate personnel and communications across borders in order to activate protective legislation in various national jurisdictions in order to do that and safeguard our sources. Being an Australian citizen, I miss my home nation a lot. The media maintains government integrity. Conversely, we shouldn't further diminish the power of the weaker individuals by increasing their transparency. Our media partners continued to produce articles while I was kept in solitary confinement in the basement of a Victorian jail. As with every developing firm, we are a little taken aback by our own expansion. These massive disclosures. WikiLeaks is a tool to increase information flow and the amount of action that results in fair reform. The distinctions between what is within and outside of organizations are becoming less clear everywhere in the globe. The goal of WikiLeaks is to increase the ethics and freedom of capitalism. We have a procedure in place for handling data that contains some degree of personally identifiable information. Thousands upon thousands of internal emails leaked during the Enron scandal, giving insight into the management style of the whole business. That is a significant issue. It's noteworthy to note that Swiss banks use offshore bank structure to conceal their holdings from the Swiss. Being the editor of WikiLeaks has never been an easy task. We benefit from having more individuals working in this field. Living as a human being means knowing, just as having a beating heart does. The Catholic Church spied on its members' lives by using the confessional system. We would be in a difficult position if they came out. It is evident that WikiLeaks is a strong organization. They need to have a sweet moniker. My job is to act as the spark plug. Out of 250,000 cables, we have around 2,000. These releases in large packages. 109,000 fatalities are covered by the records. It is the responsibility of competent media to expose strong abusers, and when this is done, the result is almost always negative. 3,000 books make up Cablegate. I was had to wear an electronic manacle around my leg for the whole of my home arrest, which is completely unacceptable for someone who has spent their adult life advocating for the freedom of others. Business espionage. There are a lot of demands to unify laws pertaining to freedom of expression and openness everywhere in the globe, including between China and the United States and the European Union. I have always thought that WikiLeaks as an idea will play a worldwide role, and as early as 2007, when it altered the outcome of the Kenyan general election, it was evident that it was doing so. Show readers more consideration. The blatant infractions were justified by all the little choices. That presents a challenge. What potential advantage exists? Is it possible for this substance to save lives? Can it raise the standard of living in Iraq? Does it have the power to influence our beliefs about the proper and improper ways to wage war? Does it influence how we think about who and how should wage war? And the answer is unambiguously yes. The use of contractors in the military blurs the lines between what is and is not considered military. Thus, when corporations are investing financial resources to keep information secret, it's a very fair indication that when the knowledge leaks, there may be a chance it may be useful. The finest thing that has ever occurred to global human civilization is the Internet's infiltration of society and society's penetration of the Internet. Putting an end to leaks is a new kind of censorship. One cannot be an advocate of press freedom and be a great lover of regulation, as I am not. There is a significant phenomenon that will only become worse. Transparency is more important when authority is higher because misuse of that power may have far-reaching consequences. No one has ever argued that the information released on WikiLeaks is not genuine. Because intelligence services often violate the law or morality, they keep information confidential. Reporting corruption begins at a very young age. Knowledge has never flowed down to slaves and serfs, but up to bishops and monarchs. By the time I was 25, I had co-authored my first nonfiction book. However, we handle incoming whistleblowers who are really driven to come forward. If you have any language talents, I've discovered that it's always better to keep them to yourself while doing investigative journalism. This indicates that although we get a huge volume of extremely high-quality whistleblower disclosures, we lack the staff to thoroughly review and analyze them. Information arrives in the mail, whether encrypted or not. We inspect it like we would any other news organization, format it, which can be challenging at times when dealing with enormous databases of data, make it available to the public, and then protect ourselves from the inevitable political and legal attacks. It is predicated on our combined knowledge of the past and present. It is the finest intellectual gem that has ever been preserved for posterity. WikiLeaks has broken news about corporate wrongdoing and exposed some harsh facts about the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. Having brought the internet to Australia, I experienced firsthand how information in the hands of the people might affect change. All laws, all constitutions, and all regulatory decisions are derived from community discussions. They like saying something is novel all the time. It guards against us. As editor of WikiLeaks, I have had to defend against several legal challenges. Either you are knowledgeable and in charge of your own destiny, or you are stupid and let someone else, someone who is not ignorant, rule over you. However, our actions are probably intended to inspire individuals to feel ethically obligated to carry out our objective rather than to undermine it. Actually, tabloid media in the US is the true threat to the truth. Until we are absolutely certain, we must use caution when classifying them as criminals. Verifiable facts should be used wherever feasible. There is an abundance of leaks available. Before you understand the circumstances around your predicament, you are unable to act sensibly. We made public the most remarkable war history in the history of our civilization, minus 400,000 secret papers. For those of my generation growing up in the West, the Iraq War was the main concern. I still write, study, and investigate, but these days my main responsibilities are as publisher and editor-in-chief, setting the agenda and managing staff members who are journalists. However, I get unfair credit. We may get a first-hand understanding of our genuine civilization by exposing the true behavior of human organizations to the public eye. Which direction will it travel in? It is difficult to see. In an attempt to get even with me, right-wing bloggers have threatened to murder my kid, for example, and my family has had to relocate and alter their identity. It is comparable to police reporting on police. Journalists must use such approach if they want to establish sustained credibility for their field. Additionally, a lot of material is available to draw criticism towards the organization for the work we do, which is a challenging job. Journalism needs to resemble science more. Accurate information is beneficial. As our profile grows, our pipeline of leaks has been growing exponentially, while our capacity to publish has been growing linearly. Similar to how militaries are the fundamental building blocks of nations, cryptography is the foundation for an organization's independence on the internet, since without it, one state might simply annex another. The speed difference between our pipeline for publishing and the pipeline for accepting contributions has grown as we've been more successful. Good journalism is by its very nature contentious. When the situation gets to the point where you find yourself looking forward to spending a day reading a book while incarcerated, you know that things may be becoming a bit more stressful than you would want. While Latin Mass prohibited most non-Latin speakers from comprehending the same framework of ideas that restrain them. Since then, I've worked on factual documentaries, newspapers, TV, and the internet. The issue is, however, what kind of knowledge is useful in the world, and what kind of information might bring about transformation. We have some information on a large government eavesdropping on the IT sector.